Trump is totally impossible to foresee and to foretell. Um, and I think the most important thing about Trump's interventions, not just there, but elsewhere, is that they are undermining international law. The meaning of international law that was never very strong and very powerful is now all gone. In a sense, the decisions of the ICJ and ICC make no real difference because Israel is not going to do anything that either the UN or those courts or any other body is asking it to do. They have no plan to do anything. And international law can only exist as long as there are some sanctions. Now, Israel is probably one of the few countries that never faced any sanctions, despite the fact that it broke the international law in every year of its existence. And almost part of those years, I don't think we have another country that has broken international law more frequently than Israel. So now they've got in a sense, the most dangerous president of the United States in the White House. They can do what they like. Now, look, please, at the difference between what has happened to the Ukraine war and what is happening in Palestine. In the case of Ukraine, within a week of the Russian invasion, Russia was under sanctions, very, very severe sanctions. And it was called, I think, unjustifiably, the aggressor. After, more than a decade of aggression from NATO and baiting the Russians into this and planning on this war, the Russians were immediately sanctioned by the West. The sanctions didn't work, but that's another matter altogether. The Israelis never faced any sanctions since 1948, never. And now, less than ever, can they be frightened of sanctions because the Americans are not going to allow this. So the story of the gates of hell, as Trump put it, was already there last month, and he didn't open the gates of hell, but Netanyahu will, because he wants to continue the war, and Jeff is related to this. So I want to talk about what we need to do in the short time that we have. I'm part of a group called Bring Gaza Home, which is mainly Palestinians and Israeli anti-Zionists. And we're building on the Resolution 194, which was passed in 1949 and requires Israel to bring back the refugees. When Israel announced that it is not going to take any refugees, they never took even one of the 800,000 refugees that they have caused by expulsion. Nothing happened. Already in 1949, nothing happened. So we want to build on that decision of the UN that refugees have a right of return. And the UN has renewed its support of that resolution every year since then. So this is the international law. The refugees have a right of return. Now, the right of return for the people of Gaza is very important because if the building is to happen, they have to be somewhere. Many of them can't actually survive, in the rubble that Gaza has become. So in order to be close to medical facilities, to schools, to food, to water, um, in order to survive, in order to live, they need to leave Gaza for a period of the rebuilding. And we are asking the international community to force Israel to take them as part of the campaign for return. Now, that sounds really very extreme, some people say to me when I describe it. They don't think that taking the refugees forcefully into other countries on the other side of the world is extreme. They think that sending the refugees back to their own country is extreme. I don't need to explain to you how bizarre this is. So, in order to be able to do that, and in order to finish the genocide as well, we need some conditions, and those conditions are important, and they're not impractical. I think all of them are possible to achieve. The first one is a protection force. We need to protect the Palestinians. Protection forces were already suggested by the rapporteurs, not just by Francesca Albanese, but the rapporteurs before her. And without a protection force, the life of any Palestinian is not worth it's impossible for them to continue without a protection force. But a protection force not of Israel or, not of the US or the West, but of Arab and international forces. And this can be passed by the General Assembly. It doesn't need to be passed by the Security Council. Another connected thing that can happen in the General Assembly is expelling Israel from the UN, or suspending it, as it's called. This has happened from South Africa in 1974 because of apartheid. Because apartheid is against the law, in 1974, that law was applied to South Africa, and they were ejected out of the Security Council, sorry, out of the General Assembly. Now, because it's a General Assembly vote, and most of the General Assembly is against Israel, only the brutal force of the United States is standing between us in this. We're working with a number of countries, with politicians in a number of countries that are likely more than others to support this and to bring it to the UN. If it was brought to the UN, I think the chances that it will pass are very high. The countries we are working with are Norway, Spain, Brussels, because it's what it is. It's where the EU is headquartered. And we think that this will be possible. Sorry, in Ireland, I forgot to mention Ireland. And those countries have shown, a number of politicians are interested in this, and those countries have shown that they can do things. And of course, there is South Africa, but we can't really load everything onto South Africa. And it'll be better if this was taken on by a country in Europe. So we have to do that. Now, the Arab countries under Egypt have come up with a proposal for the rebuilding, and they are trying to collect money for the rebuilding. I think the UN should discuss this and vote that the rebuilding should be paid for by those responsible for the destruction. I think this is what international law requires. And the people, the nations responsible for the destruction are not just Israel. It's all the West that supplied and continues to supply it with arms and with political support. So this can happen if there is enough international support for international law. In other words, this is a decision against Trump and his undermining, and against the US, who undermine international law in so many ways, and which I don't need to tell you, and which we have no time to speak of. So to say that this is not possible because Israel will not accept it is last year's story. This is no longer the language we need to use or to accept from others. Israel has never accepted anything that the international community or the UN asked it to do. So we don't expect it to accept this either. But if the international community will not act, and Jeff has spoken about this, if the international community will not act on this occasion, on this visible, media-friendly genocide, a genocide which is democratic because the Israelis, as a society supported by 97% of the Jewish population of Israel, then I don't think that we can even mention the word international law after that. So this is the campaign we're trying to support. We don't have the certainty that it will work, but not to try it is irresponsible and, in a sense, also illegal. Because if you support international law, if you support the Genocide Convention, this is what one needs to do. So this will be a test for humanity. I hope humanity passes it. That's all I can say. The signs are not good, but we have to do all we can to actually make sure that the 2 million people, and we're not even just talking about 2 million people, we're talking about more than 7 million Palestinians between the river and the sea, all of which are now under Israeli rule in one way or another. And though 2 million of those 7 million Palestinians are actually Israeli citizens, they are not full citizens, and they are now facing, according to some people in the Knesset, the same treatment that is now meted to the other Palestinians. So I think this is what we have to face, and I hope that you will agree and support those ideas. Thank you.